Hey everybody, I'm putting out this video because somebody sent me a link to an interview that Jonathan Cahn had did on the Sid Roth show pertaining to a book he put out called The Paradigm. And the whole point of the book is trying to show that things that happened in Israel are being paralleled here in America. Okay, now just to say that this is not anything against Jonathan or not against Sid Roth. And the interviewer at the time, it wasn't Sid Roth, it was Michael Brown. And I love Michael Brown. He's got a lot of good stuff out there, especially his books dealing with how to show Jewish people that Jesus is their Messiah. All right, and it's a 5-volume set called Jewish Objections to Jesus, and he basically takes apart each of the main objections that Jews have against Jesus not being the Messiah. So even though Michael Brown is filling in for Sid Roth, what's being promoted by Jonathan Cahn's book is not anything any Christian should read at all. And I'm going to explain why. Because the stuff he says in the interview is completely worthless. There are no parallels that's happening. And you'll see as I explain it, there are no parallels happening with ancient Israel and in America today. Right? We can't find stuff. All right? We have to remember God chose Israel specifically as a theocracy, as a nation that was his. And Israel is a picture of the church. Israel is not a picture of America. Israel is a picture of a church. Now, this does not mean the church has replaced Israel, but rather that the things that happen, and Paul specifically talks about this in 1 Corinthians 10. You can read this, and I believe it's verse 11, but if you read up until verse 11, you'll see what Paul specifically says is the things that happen to Israel are for our, meaning believers, our edification. So if anything's going to be parallel, it's going to be something happening to the church, not America. All right? But as you'll see, the stuff that he puts forth as parallels, they're not parallels. All right? At best, some things are similar. Okay? So that's the first thing. Now, the one thing, he does put some truth in there, so it's not as if everything he's saying isn't true. There are things that are true, which makes what he's going to say give credibility. So some of the things he's saying is true, so that's what leads people into thinking in everything he's saying then has credibility as being truth. All right, so I'm not saying everything he said is false, it's not. So for instance, when he starts talking about Baal worship in Israel through Jezebel, all right, she did promote Baal worship and they were sacrificing children. And where's the parallel in this country? All right, abortion is killing children. It is murdering children. Okay, but that's a similarity. It's not a parallel, because we have to remember Ahab and Jezebel were the rulers of this country. All right, the rulers of Israel. All right, and the one thing that is similar is this country is endorsing abortion. It is endorsing wholesale killing of kids. Okay, so now he's trying to say that his book gets very specific with the things that happened during Jezebel or Ahab and Jezebel's reign. Well, it's really Ahab's reign. Things that happened in that reign are paralleling, or I should say, it's almost like a foreshadowing of what's happening here. We're not really a foreshadowing, but what's happening in our country with the leadership in our country and the leadership in ancient Israel, we're paralleling that. So that's the whole point of the paradigm. It's or at least that's what he promoted. Okay, is that's where the paralleling happens. All right. Now, where he started, if you go to about 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'll put a link to the video in the description box so you can see the interview for yourself. All right. And so the times I give are rough estimate times. Like when I say right now 3 minutes and 30 seconds, it's roughly there. It could be give or take 10 seconds. Okay, so he said there was a culture war back then. All right, and they were pushing Baal worship. Now the Israel kings, not the Northern Kingdom kings, they did cause the northern tribes to go off track. Okay, but Ahab was the first one to introduce Baal worship, and it was through Jezebel. Okay, and so now what do we have? We have a culture war here in that we are pushing child sacrifice. It is, all right, through abortion. Okay, and so who was the champion of child sacrifice back then? It was Jezebel. Who's the woman champion in this country? that's a leader, all right, Hillary Clinton. She's the big leader, and she was big time promoter of abortion. All right, but like I said, these really are similarities. They're not parallels, and you'll see in a minute. Now, one thing he tried to say, that's another parallel, because a scandal happened with Bill Clinton, all right, and a scandal also happened with Ahab. All right. Well, you can't take the word scandal and just use it generically. All right. The scandals were for Bill Clinton was not the same scandal that happened with Ahab. All right. I mean, we could say scandal also with Kennedy also all right. So, and a scandal with Nixon. Scandals are not parallels, especially when the scandals are not the same. The scandal that happened with Ahab is when Ahab wanted somebody's land, and Jezebel had basically formed some people to slander the guy whose land Ahab wanted, and so they put him to death, and then basically Ahab was able to steal the land. All right, the scandal we all know that happened with Bill Clinton was Monica Lewinsky. All right, so you see, they're not parallels. All right, just because the generic term of scandal happened, all right, is not a parallel. All right, it's a similarity, but the scandals were different. Now, he does try to say in there that the scandal, because both of them are covetous. All right, well, that is true, but it's too vague, it's too general. Anybody can say these things. It's almost like Nostradamus when he says the two sisters shall fall, and people tried to link that to, the Twin Towers, when the Twin Towers fell. All right, it's too general, it's too vague, it's not specific enough. And so the scandals are not parallels. There's similarities only in the sense that, yes, both rulers were covetous, all right, and they are both scandals, but the scandals weren't the same. Okay, now he tried to say that they were, king and queen team, all right, where, Ahab and Jezebel, they did work together, and Bill and Hillary, they did work together, so they were a team. So it's a similarity, though, but they're not parallels. All right, and so one thing he tried to say is that Ahab, because Ahab was king for 22 years, all right, and here's another parallel, supposed parallel, all right, and when Clinton, from when he became governor to when he left the presidency, was also 22 years, from 79 to 2001, okay, but Ahab was king over all Israel for 22 years. Bill Clinton wasn't president for 22 years. He was not the ruler of our country for 22 years. So there's only a similarity in the number of years where he was a leader politically. Okay, that's all you can say. Being governor is not the same as being leader of the entire nation, where Ahab was the leader of the entire nation. All right, so these are not parallels. All right, so I'm just going to go through this quick because there doesn't need to be spent a whole lot of time on this, because you have to remember, like in a movie preview, right? Why do they show what they show in a preview? To entice people to go see the movie, okay? All right, the whole point of showing a preview is they want to show you the best, okay, so that you'll come see the movie. So if his interview, I haven't read the book, and I'm not going to read the book, because if I don't need to read the book, because I'm just critiquing what he said about his book, okay? And if the interview was the best about his book, and there's absolutely no reason we need to read the book, okay? So because it's basically, it's almost like forcing some, I don't know what his motive for writing this was and promoting this was. It's irrelevant really what his motive was, because of the fact that what he promoted in the interview is completely ridiculous. All right, no one needs to read this book. No Christian should read it, because it's just how it's I don't even know if pathetic is the right word. I don't know what the right word is to describe why this book was even written. I don't know, and I don't want to guess his motives. I don't particularly care what his motives are. All right, because I can't read his heart, but I can judge what he says. In 1 Corinthians at the end of chapter 2, it says, "A spiritual man judges all things," and those who have the Holy Spirit, we have a right to judge everything. We have a right and a responsibility to judge everything. Even in at the end of chapter 16 in Romans, when Paul says, "Mark them who." All right, we're to mark those who are basically promoting doctrines contrary to what we've been learned. All right, so we can, now I'm not saying this book is promoting that. All right, what I'm saying, the whole point I brought that up is to show that Christians have a right to judge. All right, we have a right to judge spiritual things by spiritual things, because if you have the Holy Spirit, we can discern spiritual things. And this right now, this book, no Christian should buy. All right, and so right now, to just show that, so there are some things that are true. They both, Hillary Clinton and Jezebel did promote killing of children, Baal worship and abortion. All right, but to say that the scandals are parallels, they're not parallels only in the sense that they were scandals. It's two completely different types of scandals. All right, and the 22 years is not even a parallel. It's not even a similarity, because Bill Clinton wasn't president for 22 years. All right, he was just a political leader for 22 years. All right, in the governor and then the ruler of the nation, whereas Ahab was the ruler of the nation for 22 years. All right, then when it talked about, all right, then at 10:30, 10 minutes 30 seconds, he talking about a nemesis. All right, there is some truth to that, but I mean the details about it are irrelevant because it's still not a parallel. All right, now 15 minutes, he basically said, when he talks about Ahab dying, and he said the heir was his son, okay, and then he became the king. All right, well, which was Joram. He talks about Joram was the heir, all right, and he was, all right. But the problem, what he left out, and so then he tried to link it to saying Obama was the heir of Bill Clinton, the political heir, all right. But what he left out, one, is George Bush. All right, George Bush was the intervening president between Clinton and Obama. All right, he didn't mention that, and he didn't mention the first heir to Ahab was his first son, Ahaziah. All right, you can find this at the end of 1 Kings. All right, and Joram becomes king at the end of 1 Kings and into the beginning of 2 Kings. All right, so there's another thing. All right, and Ahaziah basically was killed after 2 years. He died, I should say. He died after 2 years, and God prophesied he was going to die, or Elijah told him he was going to die. He went into bed and he wasn't going to recover, and he didn't recover. So he's king only 2 years, whereas Bush was president for 4 years. Okay, so it was an inherited king. The kingship was handed down from Ahab to his son to his next son. Okay, whereas the political parties even changed from Clinton to Bush to Obama. Okay, so it's stretching. It's not even a similarity there. All right, he's just trying to find, it seems like, any connection possible to try. I don't even understand the motive for writing this book. I mean, to me, it just seems like God caused him to write this so as to expose this stuff. It's a perversion. All right, it's a perversion. It's a deception. It seems like. All right, so it may be God caused him to write this so he could expose just how worthless this book is, all right, and really what's in Jonathan Cahn's heart. You know, since, like I said, we can't judge him, all right, but we can judge, like, out of the heart overflows the mouth, Jesus said. So we can't judge someone's heart, but we can judge what comes out of their mouth and their behaviors and their actions, all right, and it lets us know what's in their heart by what they say and do. All right, then at 17 minutes and 30 seconds, he starts talking about the warrior. All right, now he's leading into talking about Trump, and this is the warrior. He's not quiet. He's not a politician. And so what are the parallels? Well, there was a military general. His name was Jehu, and he basically took over, and he ended up becoming king of all of Israel, where he wasn't quiet. He was just this guy. He wasn't a politician, and he basically just took out all Baal worship. Okay, and so what happened with Trump? Trump is a guy not quiet, no political experience, and what is he doing? He's saying he's going to drain the swamp. All right, so these are not parallels. All right, for one, Jehu was a military guy. All right, Trump was not military. He was just a businessman. All right, who got involved in politics, and who on his own got involved in politics. Jehu, on the other hand, God told a prophet, and if I remember correctly, we don't know what the prophet's, I don't think it mentions the prophet's name, but God told the prophet, go to Jehu, pull him aside separately, and tell him that he has been anointed king, and then run away, leave. All right, and that's exactly what the prophet did. The prophet pulled Jehu aside, told him that God has anointed him king, then the prophet just took off. Okay? And so Jehu wasn't looking to become king. All right, it wasn't on his own instigation. He wasn't seeking it out. It was placed upon him by God. Whereas with Trump, this is something he did of his own initiative. All right, no prophet came up to no, God didn't speak to any prophet, and basically went up to Trump and Trump said, oh yeah, maybe I should be run for president. All right, these are not parallels at all. And the difference too is Jehu and Trump are not parallels in any way, shape, or form. All right, because you'll see why. What has Trump really done? All right, Trump hasn't ended Planned. All right, so he's tying it in here to Baal worship. All right, and you'll see how he's tying it into Baal worship. That is Jonathan Cahn. Trump has not ended Planned Parenthood. All right, which is the abortion. All right, which is the modern day Baal worship. All right, but he did beat the promoter of it. All right, he did beat the promoter of Baal worship, of abortion in our country, which is Hillary Clinton. She's the person. Okay, and what did Jehu do? Jehu did beat Jezebel, all right? But that's the only similarity. Other than that, there's no similarity whatsoever, even in how both of them were done. Okay, if Trump wanted to be anything like Jehu, he would have had Hillary Clinton arrested. He would have had them put on trial and had every abortion person. To give you an idea what Jehu actually did, if Trump wanted to have a parallel, as soon as Trump became president, he would have basically had Hillary Clinton put in jail, would have made it illegal to have an abortion, would have rounded up everyone who's been involved in doing abortions and putting abortion, would have had them all put in jail for murder and had them all executed, every single one of them. All right, this is what Jehu did, right? Jehu, basically when he became king, God had anointed him king specifically for the purpose of rooting out Baal worship in Israel. And so what did Jehu do? He killed everyone who had a connection with Ahab. He killed all of Ahab's descendants. He killed anybody when Jehu ran into people who were going to visit Ahab and Jezebel. He had them rounded up and slaughtered all of them because they wanted to be in connection, because they wanted to be friendly with those who were promoting Baal worship. Because you got to remember, Baal worship is a different god, so it's leading God's people away from him, so they have to be perpetually judged forever. All right, and so then what did he do? So he went into the king, he went into where Jezebel was, he rode in there, she said something down, when she saw Jehu, she said something down, something insulting from the castle, but from where she was at to insult him. He just looks up, and there were two men above her on the next level, and he goes, "Who's for me?" And so he said, "Throw her down." So what those two men did, they went into where Jezebel was, threw her out the window. When she hit the ground, Jehu ran over to her on his horse and stomped her into the ground with his horse. He completely killed her. What did Trump do? He insulted Hillary. He didn't even have her arrested. Remember, I like that what he had said when Hillary, during the debates, when Hillary had said, if you'll be president, right? I don't remember, it was something about she said something like to the effect, "I'm going to be worried if you'll be president." And then Trump said, "Yeah, because you'll be in jail." Where is she? All right, because all the illegal stuff she has done. All right, where is she? She's not in jail. Right? She's not in jail. All right, what did Jehu do? He completely killed Jezebel. All right, he killed her. He stomped her. He had those guys throw her out of the building. Then he rode over there and stomped her into the ground with his horse. Jehu did not kid around. All right, he slaughtered every relative attached to Ahab and Jezebel. He killed them all, and it was appointed by God. So even if Trump is appointed by God, well, everyone who's in ruler, if you read Romans 13, every ruler has been appointed by God. Okay, even Obama, when he was president, he was appointed by God. Bill Clinton was appointed by God. George Bush was appointed by God. Trump is now appointed by God. All right, but if we're going to have a parallel appointed by God in the same way as Jehu, all right, it's nothing like that. All right, and then so what did Jehu do next? Jehu, all right, he didn't simply drain the swamp of Baal worship. All right, Trump hasn't drained the swamp of abortion worship yet, of committing abortions. Planned Parenthood is still in effect. All right, and remember, like I said though, Israel is a picture of the church. If anything, Trump would have come, if you want to make it a parallel, because the land of Israel represents the church, all right, or as a picture. Remember, not a replacement theology, but a picture, a preview in a sense. Okay, Trump would have come into the Christian churches and dealt with everyone who is involved with abortion. That's the parallel, not America, but the Christian churches. Any Christian who supports abortion, he's going to deal with you and throw you all in jail, all right, and kill you if it's going to be a true parallel. So what Jehu did next was Jehu, the way he drained the swamp, all right, was he went to the main temple in Israel. Remember, he didn't deal with Baal worship around the world. All right, he just dealt with Baal worship in Israel because this is God's people in God's land. And he basically pretended to be, remember, there's no media there, so everybody's not knowing what Jehu's doing right now. He's riding around killing everybody associated with Ahab and Jezebel and Baal worship. So what he did was he went to the temple where Baal worship was incurring, and he's saying, gather everyone together. I am for you. I want all of you to come here. We're going to make a new celebration to Baal. And so he's saying, make sure you get everyone. We're going to have a great, I'm paraphrasing, a great celebration. And so when all the Baal worshipers in Israel had gathered together in the temple, right, in the temple for Baal worship, not the temple in Jerusalem, but the temple in northern Israel. All right, what ended up happening was he even said, make sure there are no Jews here. Make sure there are no worshipers of Yahweh here, if I'm saying it right. All right, so make sure there are none of worshipers of here, only Baal worshipers. So what he did then, when that temple was filled with Baal worship, he basically left, and then he told his guards, he said, you go in there, you slaughter every single one of them. Don't allow one of them to leave. If one of them escapes, you're going to take their place. He completely destroyed and eliminated everyone associated with Ahab, all of Ahab's descendants, and anybody who was friendly with Ahab, and everyone who participated in Baal worship in Israel. He killed every single one of them. Trump hasn't even done a similar thing to that. All right? If anything's going to be any parallel, Jehu is a parallel of what Christ is going to do when he returns. All right, and so what is Christ going to do when he returns? If you read in Revelation, all right, and in 2 Thessalonians, all right, what Jesus chapter 2, all right, what we see Jesus doing is anybody that's not his, he's going to completely destroy. All right, everybody gets killed. So if Jehu's a picture of anybody, he's a picture of Christ when Christ returns to become king all over the earth. Jehu rooted out Baal worship completely out of Israel. He killed them all. All right, and when Christ returns, he's going to kill all. All right, I think with some exceptions, but anyone who's not his is not going to stand. If you read the last 3 verses of Revelation 6, all right, we can see that it says when Christ is reappearing, all right, it says that those who are not his, they're going to run into the mountains and into the caves and asking the mountains to fall on them to hide him from the Lamb who has come, from the wrath of the Lamb. All right, because they know their day has come, they know judgment has come, they know they deserve the judgment, and they know there's no more mercy left for them. All right, so the whole point of this, really, remember the whole point of this video is just to show that Jonathan Cahn's book is not a promoter of a parallel, but even though there may be similarities, but the book is deceptive. The book is deceptive. I don't really know what the right word is to talk about the book. We could say deceptive, not truthful. It's not conveying the right thing because America is not a parallel picture of Israel in any way, shape, or form. Israel is a theocracy. Israel was as anointed as a nation by God. All right. Just any king and any president is anointed by God. He put them in there no matter what country it's in. All right, that's the only other similarity, but it's not truly a parallel. And the other thing, when you get to about 21 minutes and 30 seconds, he tried to show another parallel between Jezebel and Hillary Clinton, where he tried saying that Jezebel had been in the halls of I don't want to say halls of justice or whatever. She had been basically in the political halls for 14 years after Ahab. All right, and so what he tried to show is how Hillary Clinton was also there for 14 years. But the way he came up with the 14 years was 12 years as senator and secretary of state, then retired for 2 years, then comes back for 2 years. All right, so it's like, well, what about now? Is she still there? Is she not there? I mean, so he basically, you had to take the 12 and then take the 2, you come up with 14, whereas Jezebel was 14 years straight, from what I understand. All right, I may be wrong on that, but these are, he's just reaching for anything to try to promote some kind of point for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but he's grasping at anything that helps him promote some agenda he wants to promote. All right, I don't know if his agenda is just to promote a book, or he really believes this, or I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, but I can tell you this: if this is a taste, all right, this is what I wrote. I said, this is a taste of what's in the book, then the entire book is not trustworthy, even if there is some truth in it, and there is truth in it. All right, but that's the deceptive part about it. The truth he's going to promote is meant to. Now, I'm not saying he's doing this on purpose or he's deceiving people on purpose, because you have to remember there is a verse where Jesus said the blind will lead the blind and they both fall into a ditch. So I'm not saying Jonathan's on purpose trying to deceive people, all right, but people are being deceived if you listen to them, all right, and you have to remember people will not put up with sound doctrine in the end, okay, and like I said, I don't know what his motivation is, but it's clear there is not a one-to-one correlation between Ahab and Jezebel and Bill and Hillary. If you read this book, you'll be wasting your time, okay? Because, I mean, I don't want to say you'll be wasting your time, because maybe if who's ever listens to this, maybe you'll end up doing a better critique about the whole book than I have. But I know I'm not going to waste my time reading it, because you got to remember, the interview is supposed to give you the best to entice you to read his book, right? Now, if that's his best, all right, that means the rest of the book is completely deceptive. All right, it's just completely deceptive. So I wouldn't waste my time with it. These are not parallels. These are, it's almost like when you see people looking for 666, right? Because they know about 666 and the mark of the beast in the end times. So some people will go looking for 666. So they see, I'm just making up a number, okay? So they'll see, let's say some leader has a salary of $1,600,966 salary. Okay, so there's a 6 in there and there's 2 other 6s, C666. All right, so it just seems like he's doing that kind of stuff. He's trying, he may think this may be clear to him, all right, but like I said, it may be that God has used him to expose his heart to let people know what he's really all about. Because God, if you remember, I think it's Deuteronomy 13, or maybe Deuteronomy 18, I can't remember which one, but he says that I am sending false prophets into you for the purpose of testing you, to see who you will follow. Will you follow God, or will you follow the false prophet? Which side will you take? All right, and the same thing in Corinthians, when Paul says there will be heresies in the church for the purpose of making manifest who is of God. All right, the heresy that's going to be promoted in the church will expose the hearts of those who don't want the truth. Okay, and that's the purpose of God sending in the heresy, because we can't necessarily spot somebody's heart. All right, but when the heresy pops up, they will expose their heart, and so we can see it. All right, that's the whole idea of the wheat and the tares. All right, we can't see the difference in the beginning stages, but when the heresy shows up, somebody whose heart doesn't want the truth, they will side with the heresy, and now they make themselves visible for us, for true believers. Okay, so heresies will come into the church to make manifest who is of God, meaning the heresy is going to pull out those who aren't of God, and those who reject the heresy are the ones who are of God. Okay, so this could be that same thing. God is using him, all right, to promote a heresy. Okay, it is a deception. It's not being truthful. The book, it's making connections that aren't there. Like I said, I don't know the best word to use for this. Deception, heresy. I don't know what the best word is to use, because he's making parallels. It's ultimately just lies. All right, it's ultimately lies, or I should say, it's promoting something that's not true ultimately. All right, because these aren't parallels. America and Israel is not a parallel. And the thing with Ahab and Jezebel and Trump, Ahab, Jezebel, Jehu, Trump, and Bill and Hillary, they're not parallels. Okay, All right, that's all I just wanted to say. So if you're going to read it, read it. If not, I hope this opens some of you guys' eyes. All right, to see. You don't need to read this book. There's nothing you need to worry about with this book. There are no parallels, similarities, and some truths. He will promote that. All right, remember, nobody promotes all false. If it was all false, nobody would go to it. But that's the whole idea of deception. Why it's so deceiving is because truth will be mixed in with it. Okay? All right. God bless you all. Bye-bye.